Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Bonnie Rose, and we're so grateful that you are watching us today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lonnie, our board president, and she's going to say a few words, too.
Welcome, happy fall, and I'm just so glad that all of you have joined us, the ones that were an hour early. Thank you for sticking with it. And those that are changing the clocks, sit down. You got nothing better to do. You know, those are going to be there. So I'm so happy that everybody's joined us, and we're in such a treat with our beloved Kusala here today and beautiful music. It's going to be delightful. Welcome.
Thank you, Lonnie. So as we get started, I'm going to call forth our youth and family person, Bill, and he's going to give us a children's message.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Bill Hadris with Youth and Family, and today I want you to take a moment and think about a few questions. Do you think having a lot of fancy stuff makes other people think you're cool?
Yeah, I think you're cool.
Have you ever felt jealous when another kid has something you want? Well, now, think about what are some things money can't buy that are great about you? If you really think about it, you're not what you got. Think about it. Under this fancy hat, I've got kindness.
Wow. All right.
There's more. Under this fancy coat, there's love.
Wow.
Right? Maybe, if I can do this. Under this boot, I've got joy.
All right.
Hey.
Oh, no.
Under this fancy shirt,
We have some music, please.
we have, there is wisdom, right?
All right.
So, so with that, I invite you to close your eyes for a moment, take a breath, and repeat after me. I am not what I got.
I am not what I got.
My truth lies within me.
My truth lies within me.
And so it is.
And so it is. Thank
Thank you.
Don't you have one on your back? Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Bill. That was wonderful. All right, ladies, let's see if you can top that. Okay. Yeah. So we have a couple of folks making announcements for us. First, Mary Kerrigan.
Good morning. This is November. This is the month of Thanksgiving and gratitude. And we are going to have a gratitude tree, a virtual gratitude tree. We are encouraging and inviting everyone to send in a gratitude to the office by email, 10 words or a picture, and then your gratitude will be posted on our gratitude tree. You'll see it grow, and by the time we get to Thanksgiving, we hope that everyone has expressed and really tapped into this chance to grow deeper in our gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
I brought my snake. I don't know if that tops Mr. Bill. I keep this snake on my shelf to remind me of a story about the life of a snake. They actually die if they don't shed their skin. So I'm going to invite you on your sacred spiritual path as we shed part of our skin to walk the path to become closer to the divine, to the field of Rumi, to love and kindness. The labyrinth is very important to me, and I want to share that joy with you as I walk my sacred path using the labyrinth as a tool. Today, at 12:30? The class starts today. We'll talk about the labyrinth and the process, and then during the week I'll give you several places in the local area, or if you're not here, there's a worldwide labyrinth locator, and then we'll come back together and debrief the next Sunday. So I invite you to come today and enjoy our Zoom class. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. It's wonderful. And I'm calling up our practitioner, the lovely Vicki Carter, to lead us in prayer.
Good morning, practitioners, ministers. I invite you to stand with me in this joyful, blessed invocation of today's loveliness in this service. And as we breathe in, feeling our presence, we know that there is one life, one light. This light is the light that is the essence of everything. The light upon the water, the light in the moon, the light in the eyes of our brothers and sisters and all the creatures in this world. And I know that this I Am presence is a divine and blessed gift that is offered me to be alive on this sacred planet Earth. And I am so grateful for this, and I am grateful to know this truth, that this is a gift for each and every person here, each and every being on this planet Earth. We all belong. We belong to God, we belong to this day, and no matter what our masks or our t-shirts say, or where our hearts are in the next coming weeks, with how we see a perfect place for our home, this earth, this country, this united world, we are all worthy and welcome. And knowing this, I absolutely claim and trust that this service is a message of love for this. It is a calling for us to show up in our practice, to give love, serve love, be love to all in every moment. So grateful I am to everybody who serves here in our beautiful, sacred Church of Love. I am very grateful that today serves this message of hope, peace, love, and inclusion for all. I know that the music fills the hearts of all who hear it. I know that today's message from Kusala brings us delight and peace and certainly laughter. And everybody who has worked behind the scenes is making today even more perfect than we could ever imagine. And so just releasing, trusting, surrendering, I simply say thank you, and open to knowing that everything is unfolding perfectly and that it is all done. And I release my word into this love, this truth of the law, and together we say, and so it is.
So it is. Let us continue to remain in that deep space. And breathe in and breathe out. Relax our bodies, becoming present as we listen to the words of our sacred reading.
Don't think of monkey. From Stepping Stones, Buddhist Parables, compiled by Brian Conroy. A long time ago, near a village at the foot of the Himalayas, an old hermit set up his camp. Day after day, the hermit sat unmoving in meditation. One day, one of the villagers, awed by the stillness and tranquility of the hermit, asked if he would teach him how to meditate. The hermit agreed. He taught the villager how to sit in full lotus position, where to place his hands, and how to breathe. Then the hermit shared the secret of meditation. Whatever you do, don't think of monkey. That's easy, thought the villager. So he returned home, found a quiet room. Then he sat in full lotus, positioned his hands like the hermit had shown him, and began breathing in and out. Then he reminded himself not to think about monkey. But the more he tried not to think about monkey, the more he thought about monkey, until every thought he had was about monkey. No matter how hard he concentrated, he could not get monkey out of his mind. To this day, the descendants of that village are still sitting in full lotus. And they would all be excellent meditators by now, if only they could stop thinking about monkey.
And so it is. What are all y'all thinking about right now is what I want to know. Oh, so just knowing that it's all God, this human divine conundrum or play or pleasure that we're in. Let us breathe in deeply, inhaling and then gently exhaling, opening our eyes in love with what is, as it is, and so it is.
Close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me, that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, to where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. Let 'em say I've lost my mind. I don't care, call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build where every pane of glass is filled with love's light streaming through. Special moments we create as we sit and contemplate all that's calling us to do. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care, call me crazy. Welcome to the world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. However big, however small, 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me. A million dreams, a million dreams. I think of what the world could be. The vision of the one I see. The million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
I'm happy to be here today with the hundreds of people that are not here but perhaps viewing us online right now and later on a video. So I'm going to talk about motorcycles today and my experience with them and all sorts of stuff. But how did that come about? Why am I talking about motorcycles today? I haven't ridden one in a couple years. And I haven't really thought about one in a couple years, but son of a gun, I got an email from Bruce, who lives someplace in a rural area. And he said, I've got a podcast, This Motorcycle Life. And a lot of people want to know if riding a motorcycle and meditation are similar. And I found you on YouTube. And then I went to your web page, and I thought, you know what, you're the guy that could probably answer that question. Motorcycles and meditation. So we had a wonderful conversation on the phone, and it's posted on his podcast now, thismotorcyclelife.com. And I thought, okay, I'm going to use that as my springboard. I'm going to start there. So he said, how did you start riding a motorcycle? And my answer was, well, when I was 14 and lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was the early 60s, you could actually get a motorcycle license for 50 cc's or less. So I had a Honda 50. My mom bought me a Honda 50 for my birthday when I was a freshman in high school. And 7 months later, she took it back and sold it. Because I sort of stopped going to high school and just started to ride in Phoenix, Arizona. And it was so much fun. I had that sense of freedom that I'd never had before. And the sense of being able to go any place I wanted to, anytime I wanted to. At least that's what I thought. Until it was taken away. But that's how it all started. And I still have that sort of old, faded motorcycle license from the early 1960s. Wow. So then there was a long period of time when I didn't ride a motorcycle. And then we come into the 1980s. And I was between cars. My old car died. I didn't have enough money to buy a new car. And one day I was on the bus going to work, and I looked out the window, and there was a guy riding a motorcycle. And I thought to myself, you know what? That might be the way I need to go. Cost-effective transportation. So I went to this motorcycle dealership in Marina del Rey and looked at all the used motorcycles they had. And I had a MasterCard with enough credit on it to buy a motorcycle. So I got a little 250 Kawasaki, and that was my transportation now. And I had to relearn all the stuff I had forgotten or never known when I had my first motorcycle. And one of the first things that came to mind was mind. I need to be aware, because a lot of car people don't see motorcycle people. A lot of truck and bus people don't see motorcycle people. So if you're not aware and they're not aware, a really bad accident could happen. Or maybe even a small accident. But when you're on a motorcycle, a small accident hurts a lot. So you don't want to even have a small one. But that's how I started riding again. And for 7 years, a motorcycle was my only form of transportation. So you might say, well, what did you do when you went to the grocery store? How did you bring the groceries back? I had this huge backpack, and I had bungee cords. And you just sort of figure it out. It's like riding a horse. Everybody else has a wagon, you've got a horse. So you got your saddlebags, you got your bungee cords. What do you do in the rain? Well, you get wet. That's how it sort of works on a motorcycle. How about a really hot sunny day? What happens then? You get really hot on those sunny days. Man, because there's no place to hide when you're on a motorcycle. I really like my car now, at my current age, because I have air conditioning, I have a radio, I have a heater, I can roll down the windows, and more importantly, I can roll them up. And on a motorcycle, you can't do anything but either wear more clothing or wear less clothing. But because of the problem of an accident and possible death, you wear a lot of clothing most of the time, sometimes leather, you have your helmet on, and it's not comfortable, but when you're young, it's invigorating. You feel like a real man. You're just out there, and you're putting up with all this stuff, and you're not complaining, and people look at you like, what are you doing? Didn't you ever see that movie with Marlon Brando? I'm Marlon, man. I'm riding the motorcycle. Okay, so I got a car. After 7 years, I got a car. So now I had a motorcycle and a car, and I had to get insurance for both. So it just kept getting more expensive, but I still kept the motorcycle. And then my father passed away, and it was sad to see him go, and he left a house behind, and each of the kids got a little money. And what did I do? I bought a brand new motorcycle. Whoa, it looked like a big old Harley Davidson, but it was a Suzuki, so it was like half the price. And it had a radiator and a shaft drive, so it was really up to date. And it was so comfortable, and it looked so good. It was black and white. I felt like a cop. And I just ride around, and I had this big smile on my face. Nobody could see it because I had my helmet on. But I was just really living the dream now. I had the perfect motorcycle, the one I've always wanted. But there was something missing. I was 52 years old, and I wanted to know if I still had it. Do I have it? I'm middle-aged if I live to 100. Do I have it? Could I do something remarkable even at 52? And I said, yes, I can. I can go visit my mom in Wisconsin and ride the motorcycle. 5,000-mile round trip. 7 days to get there, 7 days with mom, and 7 days to come back. This was going to prove that I still had it, that I could go out there and meet any problem with a kind of joy and happiness, and off I went. What do you take when you're driving 7 days and going 2,500 miles? I didn't have a cell phone. People freaked out about that. You don't have a cell phone? What happens if? I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll have to see if it happens, and then I'll figure it out. Okay. You really should get a cell phone. Oh, I know. So then I'm thinking, okay, what do I need? I'm going to get a tent, and I'm going to camp out next to the motorcycle. It's just going to be so cool. Well, most of the time I got a motel room. Because camping next to your motorcycle after riding it for 6 hours is really the last thing you want to do. You want to take a shower, get some food, watch a little TV, and then back on the motorcycle. I found out about KOAs, Campgrounds of America. And they have these little cozy cabins that you can rent, which is like a mattress and a bunk bed and a chair and a table. And I stayed in a couple of those. And I realized as I was traveling that my new home was the road, and all the other people on the road were my family. We were doing the same thing. Some had 4 wheels, some had 8 wheels, these big old RVs. Some had 2 wheels. But we all had that sort of in common, that we were on the road going someplace, and that we weren't there yet, and that's why we're on the road. So how does it feel not to be there? Well, if you're a Buddhist, it makes perfect sense, because we're all in a state of becoming, and we never become anything. We just keep becoming. You know, every day you're becoming something new. You get one challenge figured out, the next one shows up. You know, and then you got the age thing to worry about, and you just go, man, when is it going to all stop and I can reach that plateau and just sort of enjoy my life? No, there is no plateau. You're never going to stop. You're just going to keep going and going until you can't go anymore. Whoa. So on the road, that became very apparent to me, that I was just going to keep going, and even when I got to my destination, I had to go back. And when I got back to the meditation center after 21 days on the road, it's like I never went anywhere. How weird is that? So I'm on the road, and I'm just have this romantic idealism about how cool it is, and you know, and some of the places like up in Montana, there's like nothing. There's nothing. You look around, there's no cars, there's no motorcycles. Once in a while, there's a moose someplace, and you just go, wow, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Hey, man, you're a Buddhist. That's the place. That's where you're going. Nowhere. Okay, I got it. I'm learning all the time. Now, at the time I did it, this is 2001, everybody was working on bridges and roads. And you know, sometimes those roads were so uneven because they were repaving them and working on the bridges and stuff that you had to be so aware all the time, or you could just crash. So I would go up on the thing, and I'd go down on the thing, and I'd stay in this and do this, and I'm going, wow, this really requires a lot of attention to stay alive. And it's not like you're got 4 wheels, so there's a little balance that goes into it. Not much so. You'd be surprised. You're going 80 miles an hour, which was my preferred speed to go, that the engine and the wheels, you know, are turning in a way that's like a gyroscope. And you feel so stable, you know? It really is an interesting thing to experience, that on 2 wheels you can feel stable and solid. And then the rain started, Iowa. Whoa, Iowa. Man, rained all day. And I don't care how many clothes you're wearing, when you're in the rain all day at 80 miles an hour, you're going to get wet. And I couldn't believe how wet I was, and it was cold, and it was uncomfortable, and I looked at all the cars and envied them. I bet they had their heaters on. And here I was, just rolling right along. And I found this motel that had a washer and dryer, and I was really excited about it. You got a dryer? Oh man, okay, thanks, I'm taking a room. Now, I said to her, because, you know, I was born in Iowa City, Iowa. And rarely do I ever go to Iowa. So I was sort of excited to be able to say, you know what? I was born in Iowa. She said, me too. Go figure. There we were, together in Iowa, at a motel. Wow. So what did I learn about this rain and this cold and this discomfort? That, you know, you're only comfortable for a certain length of time. And all you got to do is sit in meditation. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes. And you start to get uncomfortable. And on a motorcycle, you might need a little more time, 2 hours, 3 hours. But you start to get uncomfortable. And there's no way to get rid of the discomfort. There's nothing to turn on or turn off. There's no window to roll up or roll down. And I thought to myself, at a certain point, as I was riding my motorcycle, this is how I can become free. This is my lesson to freedom. If I can figure out how to be comfortable in the discomfort, I'll always be free from suffering. Wow, that's what the Buddha was talking about. He said, I'm going to tell you ad nauseum why you suffer. And you suffer in so many different ways. I'm going to list them and name them. You're going to feel so bad after you hear what I say. But I'm not going to stop there. Then I'm going to tell you how to end your suffering. I'm going to tell you what I learned, what I did to end my suffering. And one of the key words he used, and one of the key words I used, was acceptance. How can I accept things just the way they are without wanting to change them? How can I do that? As I'm riding through rain, and it's hot, and it's dry, and there's no place to find comfort, how can I say, this is exactly the way it's supposed to be? Well, in most people's minds, this was not the way it was supposed to be. But when you're on a motorcycle, it's sort of what you signed up for. Okay, this is what it's about, to ride a motorcycle. This is why most people don't ride a motorcycle. Because it hurts a lot after long periods of time, and you could die quickly. And they don't want to die. I had a friend who had a motorcycle accident, and he was plugged into the wall for a long time at the hospital. And I'm going, oh man, I went to visit him, and I felt so bad for him. But most people that ride a motorcycle don't have a terrible accident where they get laid up for a long time. Most people don't do that. One of the ways you do that is you're not paying attention, and you're a little too cavalier, and you're sort of showing off, and and then all of a sudden, bang. Or the other way is you're not paying attention at all, and the car in front of you has stopped, and then you run right into it, and bang. And if you want to see actual footage of that, go to Dashcam Video Russia. Man, they have the best accidents. They don't even slow down. 2 cars have crashed, and they just run right through them, and they crash. And then a car is stopped, and a motorcycle's not slowing down, and he runs into the back of the car. And every time he ran into the back of the car, he got up and brushed himself off. Like, yeah, just another day in Russia, man. Unbelievable. So I never had an accident, but I tell you, it's always going to happen, sooner or later. But see, if you're a Buddhist, you can say to yourself, maybe not in this lifetime. So that was my way out. So far, so good. Did I ever fear that I was going to die in a motorcycle? Never did. Never had that thought. Never came. Never had that thought at all. Okay. I had more thoughts about dying and the fear of death in my meditation practice. As I sat there hour after hour on retreat, and the knees started to hurt, and the back started to hurt, and the ankles didn't move anymore, and you thought to yourself, they're going to have to call 911. I'm not going to be able to get up. This could be my last hour on earth. This darn meditation. So how is meditation like motorcycle riding? Well, in this way, you create a cocoon of awareness on the motorcycle. And when you're sitting in meditation, you're creating a cocoon of awareness around you. And you become so sensitive to sounds and feelings and sight when you're in meditation, because you got nothing else to do except think about the monkeys. So there you are, just sitting there going, wow, okay. Look at all this stuff that I wasn't aware of before. Look at how my body feels, all the sensations of being alive, mentally and physically. Wow, no wonder I'm screwed up. There's just too much to keep track of. I don't know how people do it. And then we become aware of self, our best friend, most of the time. But self can also be a stern master. You should be this way. You went to school. You have peer groups. You work. Your boss tells you how to be. Your wife tells you how to be. Your kids tell you how to be. I don't want to be that way anymore. Self says, no, you have to, because I'm in charge. Until you meditate long enough to realize that self is simply a tool and not a master, and you're able to use that tool to have a much better life and have something to say about others people's lives that will encourage them and make them feel even better about themselves. This sort of selfless awareness of what you're dealing with and what everybody's dealing with. So meditation became a really important symbol for me as I rode the motorcycle, because there's not much difference when you're on the road for 6 or 7 hours or sitting in a zendo for 6 or 7 hours. You sort of have the same position. You're not moving around a lot. There are times when you have to stop to go to the bathroom, both in meditation and on the motorcycle. You know, and then there's always like a tea break, and so there's always like a food break on the motorcycle. A whole lot. But while I was going through certain parts of the country, a book came to mind, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, Robert Pirsig. That book took me a couple years to read because I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. It is a very confusing book, and it took over 20 publishers saying no before the first publisher said yes to get the darn thing published. 1970s, I was in Westwood Village walking by a bookstore, and in the window was that book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I hadn't studied meditation. I wasn't sure what Zen was, and I thought to myself, why would anybody write that book? And how are they connected? Zen and the Art of Motorcycle, how are they connected? Now, at the end of my interview for the podcast, he said about the book, what is your take on it? What do you think it means? And I said something that sort of startled me, and I'll get to that, because I couldn't understand why I would say it. And yet it just came out, and I said it with authority. So he said, but that's all he said. I'm going, wow. So I've been on YouTube looking at book reviews of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And one person came to the same conclusion I did. But before I get to that, he's got Chris on the back. Chris is his son. And they're going to California from Minnesota. That's a long ride. And then there's John and his wife, and they're riding the BMW, you know. And he's got a Honda. And the BMW is sort of like this Mercedes of motorcycles. So John and Sylvia rode it like it was a Mercedes. And they never did anything to it. If something went wrong, they would take it to dealership would fix it. But not Robert Pirsig. He always fixed his own. And he got into this thing of classical and romantic. What is classic and what is romantic? And he said something I thought was really interesting about the motorcycle. He says, when you have a romantic vision of your motorcycle, you're looking at the lines and the aesthetics, and it's just a beautiful form. And you really don't care too much how it works or why it's working, but it brings you to a place of connection to the motorcycle, which is beautiful. And if you have a classic view of the motorcycle, you know about the valves and the pistons and the chain or the drive shaft and the wheels, either the spoked wheels or not. And you have a much more realistic way of looking at that machine. It's not just something beautiful that takes you to altered states of consciousness. It's just simply a machine that's designed to take you from point A to point B. Okay. So when I read that the first time, I didn't know. I didn't get it. I don't know what they're talking about. I didn't know all the Western philosophy. I didn't know the Eastern philosophy. I just liked the motorcycle and the motorcycle trip. And I bought this book, Guide to the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And it was all about that book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It was a guide. And it broke everything down. So I learned a lot about Western philosophy and Eastern philosophy, a lot about motorcycles, a lot about the trip, about who these people were, why they were doing it. And then they made it to California. Now, I said that Bruce, the podcast guy, said, well, what is your take on it? What did it mean to you? And I said, relationship. And that was it. There was this silence, and he goes, yeah, okay. And I didn't know what it meant either. You know, I just said it. I don't know where that answer came from. And then I thought hard and deep on that for a couple days after I said it. And I'm going, of course, relationship. Robert Pirzig went to a mental hospital because he had a nervous breakdown trying to figure out what quality was. He couldn't define quality. And he was teaching in Montana, Bozeman, Montana, at the college there, university. And one of his co-workers said, I hope you're teaching quality. And he said, yes, I am. And then he got stuck. Well, what is quality? How can you teach quality? What the heck is it? So he went to the mental hospital. He got electroshock therapy. And in the story, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, his old self keeps coming back and getting his attention. His old self is Phaedrus. So Phaedrus talks to Robert and says, you've been down this road before. You go right over there and the motel is just down the street. And his son Chris said, how did you know that the motel was there? And Robert said, well, I just sort of knew. But he was having a dialogue with his old self and the new self. And that was the first relationship. Then he was having a dialogue with his son who had symptoms of mental illness as well, and Robert was feeling a little uneasy about that, thinking he may have been one of the reasons that his son has the beginnings of mental illness. So it was a really interesting relationship until they got to the West Coast, and then all the issues were resolved between him and his son. He had the relationship with the motorcycle, that he could tell how it was going by the way it sounded. He could tell if it needed to be adjusted or just left alone. He knew that because of his relationship to the motorcycle. John and Sylvia, who had the BMW. That was another interesting relationship. Even more confusing than the one with Phaedrus or the son or the motorcycle, because we have two people who are married and they have that third perspective of marriage, and they would be discussing certain things or having fun, and Chris would come in and have a stomach ache and blah, blah, blah. And they go, wow, okay. Relationship. And then this thing about quality. See, when I read the book, I missed the point. I didn't get quality. And then I thought to myself, well, how about this? How about if John took his BMW to the parking lot and took it all apart? And how about if Robert took his Honda to the parking lot and took it all apart? And then you gave them both the magnifying glass. And you said to them, find me the quality of your motorcycle. In what part or piece does it exist? And I imagined in my mind of them going to each piece and part of the motorcycle, looking for the quality and coming up empty-handed. None of these pieces hold the quality of the motorcycle. None of the parts are big enough to hold the quality of the motorcycle. And yet somehow, when you put the 10,000 pieces together and create the motorcycle, quality is evident. And I thought to myself, wow, maybe that's what he's talking about. But Zen took me into a different direction. So I'm reading the book like for the third time. I've got it on audio tape, which is really good. And then I'm thinking, maybe it's not the quality that is the big issue in this book. Maybe it's the sense of self that's the big issue in this book. That if you were to take me or Reverend Bonnie apart to our 10,000 pieces and try to find Reverend Bonnie or try to find me, you couldn't do it. It doesn't exist in that way. And yet, when the 10,000 pieces come together, this sense of self becomes recognizable. You can recognize Reverend Bonnie down the street. You go, wow, yeah, that's Reverend Bonnie. I see herself. Okay, cool. And there's Kusala. Kusala, move back a few aisles, man. You're too close. Okay. So self becomes aware, moves back, but how about that? How about if that the whole thing he's talking about the quality, he's really talking at some level about the self, and that it's really not there in the way we think it is. And I went, wow, after years of meditation, I have come to the same conclusion that myself is not there in the way I thought it was. That all these decades that I have lived, 7 so far, I have been a different self in each decade. I have been a different self in each half decade. I've been a different self each month of those 7 decades. I've been a different self each morning when I got up. And some days I get up and go, wow, feels good to be me. And some days I get up and go, wow, what happened to me? Where did that come from? So struggling with the idea of, okay, I am not an event. I am not an event. I am a process. And I experienced that process in a really unique way after 21 days of writing. I experienced that process in a really unique way of meditation, in relationship with people and things and little critters, that this other sense of self arises and feeds the cats, which I've been doing for over 25 years now. How could you feed cats for 25 years? Well, we keep getting more. And I think we're getting close to the end of my talk. So, what have I learned? I was going to go into 7, anyway. What have I learned? I have learned this. Don't take yourself too seriously. Set yourself some goals to make, but if you're just good enough in making those goals, that might be okay. And one day you're going to die, and that should be your co-pilot. That should signal to you that this day, the first day of our life, is also the best day of our life. Enjoy it. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you so much, Kusala. Appreciate that. Thanks. All right, so let's take a moment just to pray. We'll turn within and just breathe into that beautiful spaciousness that we all carry with us, that place that is paradox, the paradox of self and no self, of complete and incomplete, of perfect and imperfect, all of this mystery that is what we are, that we can't define. Let us call that forth right now and inhabit it fully, allow it to inhabit us, because it already does. But just draw our attention to it, to trust and to know that this is who we are, and this is who we are not. That we are so much more than what we can imagine. That life is both vast and tiny, and that we are embedded and embodied in this beautiful, beautiful miracle that we call life itself, that we call love. So today I choose to focus on love and know that love is who I am, love is who we are. Love is the substance and the form and the energy of the entire world. Let us anchor in that love right now. Let us connect to it, and let us allow it to fill us and fulfill us as we contemplate today, as we contemplate our lives, and as we contemplate the coming week. Together we trust and we know that God, that love, that whatever it is we choose to call it is bigger than any events, any personal events, any global events, any national events. We inhabit love, we embody love, and we allow love to fill us. It lifts our hearts with its fullness. It allows us to see as love sees, And we move forth from this place, anchored and grounded, surrounded and surrendered in the fullness of love. This love informs our decisions, it informs our actions, it informs our thoughts, it informs our willingness, it informs our entire being and our choices. It informs the inner and the outer, knowing that whatever is, love is stronger, love is greater, love is fuller, love is sweeter. Love bears all things, love blesses all things. And so I'm just so grateful to know this spiritual truth, so grateful to know that we can anchor in this love at any time. Whenever we forget, we can draw ourselves back to this place, allowing it to fill our hearts and our beings. I'm so grateful for the transformation that I know is occurring here in this spiritual center, in all of us as individuals and in all of us collectively as we re-anchor in the idea that we are a center of love, that we are a center of loving kindness, and that kindness is the delivery system for that love in action. So grateful for all of this and for so much more. So grateful for including ourselves in that loop of kindness. And I bless this center and all of the beings in it, all of the beings that participate, all of the beings that are beyond this center. I bless all paths to God, churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams, fundamentalists, atheists, all beings everywhere. Red, blue, green, purple, black, white, everywhere. I spread the joy of blessedness, for we are all blessed. And with a heart that is so full of gratitude, I say, thank you, Spirit, thank you, love. And I release these words into the mystery, into the miracle. And together we say, and so it is.
Well, strap in, because after this, you'll be able to play a game of Never Have I Ever. All right. Get your motor running, head out on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way. Yeah, darling, gonna make it happen. Take the world in a love embrace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space. I like smoking lightning. Who doesn't? Heavy metal thunder, racing with the wind, and this feeling that I'm under. Yeah, darling, gonna make it happen. Take the world in a love embrace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space. And like a true nature's child, you were born to be wild. Gonna climb so high, never gonna die. That sounds nice, right? Born to be wild. You know you were born to be wild. Get your motor running, head out on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way. Yeah, darling, gonna make it happen. That was for you, my dear.
Wow. Well, thank you, Margaret. Okay. Show of hands. Do you think there are any other churches in the world that had that as their hymn or whatever? Yeah. No, it's perfect. It's perfect. I just admire your. Well, it's not time for the circle of praise yet, but I admire your creativity so much. It's so beautiful. What talent. All right, folks. So what a great Sunday. Let's go ahead and we'll close in prayer. So I invite you to turn within and go ahead and tinkle. Chris, thank you. Thank you. Chris was so caught up in the moment that he forgot to tinkle. All righty. So we breathe in and we breathe out, and we just know that hearts have been lifted and minds have been opened, and that we just are carrying this energy with us as we go our separate ways from this place. That the world really is a beautiful and a wonderful place, and that what we focus on expands. And so together we commit to focus on the good and to bring greater and greater good into the consciousness of being, into the being itself, spirit into matter. And so we do so with our heart, with our mind, with our being, with our vote. We vote for kindness, we vote for good, and we allow ourselves to be opened unto greater possibilities, and just know that these possibilities bless the world in seen and unseen ways. And so I'm just so grateful for this time together, so grateful for our beautiful, beautiful community, so grateful for all of the beings that make up this community, because it's not just the people on stage, it's everybody. So grateful for the ripples that we send out to the world through our commitment to goodness, to love, to kindness, to compassion, and with a heart that sees it as accomplished, that sees it as already done. I bless these words as I bless this prayer, as I bless these intentions, and I release these words into the mystery of the divine, and together we say, and so it is. Thank you. Namaste.